she's kind of looping, she's looping. And even if I saw it, my insula would not create as many mirror neurons as hers. So mirror neurons are what make you empathic, but they also feed the loop. If your neurons last, you're feeling it, you keep feeling it, and you're mirroring what you're out there. In here, it's getting mirrored, okay? So same as if you see someone feel pain, females will see someone feel pain, and they'll create mirror neurons for it. And so their brain is really feeling the pain of this child right here. I feel this 3-year-old's pain. I've got to go right now. I've got to hug that child. Because my mirror neurons are getting into my rumination loop, and I'm in there, and it's just, I'm feeling it. I've got to go do something with that feeling. I've got to talk about that feeling. I've got to hug the child, whatever it is, right? And the male insula, we don't keep our mirror neurons for as long. So we tend to kill off the mirror neurons, and we will keep them if someone is in heavy distress. Like if we really see, this child is wailing on the floor in heavy distress, we will be right there. Obviously, that's crisis. Our mirror neurons stay active. But like even if I saw the rolled their eyes, I got the mirror neurons for about a second of mirror neurons, and then I'm saying I'm at risk of, because I don't have the mirror neurons going, I'm at risk of saying to Vita, oh, that's nothing, don't even worry about that. And I may cut Davida off. So this is sort of one of these subtle and interesting things that's a difference between male and female brain. And when we're working with females, especially guys who aren't used to it, we find that there are strategies that guys need to practice, and there are also strategies that women can practice. And we'll generalize because we can cross these over. Guys like me, for instance, had to learn to allow the processing. So allow it for 5 to 10 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes, whatever it is. We each learn with that individual child what that child needs. But should we allow the processing to just go on for 15, 20 minutes? And should we allow the processing to go on into blame? And I want to ask you that, because this is an area of female development we really want to talk about. Should we allow what does science tell us? And I've got the science in these books, so you can check this. What is science telling us about ventilating feelings? Does anyone know? What do you think?
It doesn't get it out of our system, it gets it stuck in our system.
Exactly. We have to be really subtle about this. There's a guy named Brad Bushman, Ohio State, who's done a lot with this, and he's also linked it to social media. And Katie and I talk a lot about this. Katie's going to be doing the digital. We talk a lot about this, about we got to walk the fine line. Because now with social media, everyone can ventilate, and they can ventilate constantly. Is it making them happier? It's not. You've probably seen this in the news. It's not. Now, a certain amount of obviously gives you happiness. Facebook gives you happiness. But this concept of how long should people be ventilating? In other words, how long should we allow this loop in these kids? And I say allow because we are the adults. We do have, we can't control them, but we can bring strategies to them to help them. So the middle ground that I found, that I teach, that I think is research and science-based, is listen really carefully to these rumination loops in the girls, and help them by listening, and then listen for when either 1, it changes to blame, or 2, it repeats. And so if you listen for this, do your citizen science and check this out. Now, sometimes you have to blame. If a girl has been abused or bullied, then that has to become target-oriented. So-and-so bullied me. Okay, so that we're going to put that in this category. That has to involve the target of the ventilation and rumination. But the blame I'm talking about is, I felt this, and then she's so bad, right? Or he's so bad. But he or she didn't really do anything. He rolled his eyes, she rolled her eyes, which is not really anything, right? It hurt my 12-year-old. But reality check, it isn't. So look for that. If there's abuse, obviously, you've got to get right on that. But if there's this blame, what that does is it actually will exacerbate the feeling. So the gift we can give her is to point that out and say, oh, wait, you were doing so great when you were just telling me this felt really bad to you and so on. But now we got to problem solve it. Because now once you move to blame, that's not really good. That's actually not going to help you. Come back and let's problem solve this. All right? And the same with the loop, which you can verbally hear. And once you hear the repetition of it, I kind of use a 3 times rule. I hear the repetition. The repetition of the point comes 3, 5, 7, 6 minutes in, whatever it is. I hear the point repeat. So I'm not engaging yet. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, boy, that really hurt. And then somewhere right, after I hear it repeat again, because now it's going to accelerate. It's going to repeat more quickly. Now it'll probably repeat in 60 seconds. Because what her brain is really saying is, please intervene. Now her brain is saying, I need help from you. But while she was processing, no. If we cut that off, we don't validate. But when she starts blaming or she starts repeating, I would argue that her brain is saying, I need help from you. You, adults, help me. You, peers, help me to get this, to problem solve this, because I don't want to feel this again, or, why did I feel this? And then we can delve in with her. Can all of that work with boys too? Absolutely. But I've developed it, especially in looking with girls, because they keep these loops going for so long. Does that make sense? Make sense? Okay, so that's just another takeaway from all of this. Okay? So here are new scans from our friend Daniel Amen. He's go to amenclinics.com if you want to learn more about him. And he's one of the folks who, when you see someone write something where they say, hey, it's junk science to say there's such a thing as male-female brain difference, or, there's a few people out there. There's like probably 10 of them now out there who are writing that. They say, I'm a neuroscientist, and that's junk science. They're not actually doing scans. Just always remember that. When they write that, they're not doing scans. And they're not working in schools. They're not working in communities. They're sort of sitting at a desk saying, I don't like that. But guys like Daniel Amen, he's done 120,000 scans. So this is another new study where, and you can see this out in the press, you'll see these brains, and it's fascinating to see, look again at the bottom. Men in this image have higher blood flow in the blue colored areas, the cerebellum. Okay, once again, how important this is to remember that a lot of what boys and men are doing, they're doing from here down into their bodies. And he's showing the same thing in the new scans, which are from all racial groups. He takes people from all racial groups. He said these are 46,000 scans, so kind of hard to say no to that. 46,000 scans showing the same thing that all these other scans are showing. Okay, and you notice what he says, that females, women compared to men, more highlighted in the red area of the brain, the cingulate gyrus, which was the anterior cingulate cortex we just looked at, which is right about in there, and the precuneus, which is right about in here. Okay, so that red area, you're seeing a lot more female activation there than male. Technology is so fascinating. It's just sort of fascinating the way it does that. But I'm going to say that the blue, that the computer, like all of us, need to kind of shut down for about 5 seconds in order to process. Because you never know, I love it. Okay, so features of female brain now. Now, female brain, 15 to 30% more glucose metabolism. What that just means is blood flow at the baseline. Females have more blood flow in the brain in more areas of the brain than males do. And now I want to talk about white matter. So more white matter. So females will tend, the girls around you will tend to connect more dots, and so will the women, will tend to connect more dots. And we learned, so Richard, this has been studied a lot, but a guy named Richard Heyer down at UC Irvine, he was the one who came out and said, look, we can see that females have more gray matter per se than males do. Gray matter does things in splotches, okay? But they use 10 times more white matter activity for intelligence. So intelligence is anything having to do with school, anything having to do with preschool, anything having to do with even parenting, where you're thinking, you're problem solving, you're doing your homework. Whatever it is, this is intelligence activity. Sports has intelligence activity. Loving someone uses intelligence activity. You're thinking while you're loving. Anything that has to do with really anything, at a certain point is going to use white matter and gray matter, right? Because that's what the brain is composed of. And it turns out the female brain uses up to 10 times more white matter activity. Male brain uses up to 7 times more gray matter activity. So guys are doing the same thing in splotches that females are doing throughout their brain, because white matter is in the myelin and it's moving signals all over the brain really fast. Yes, guys can move signals around the brain, of course, but we're using up to 7 times more gray matter activity to do the exact same task. So a mother and a son are talking, or a father and a daughter are talking, and you can apply this to anything. A teacher is talking to a room of boys and girls. a couple is having a conflict, and pick a heterosexual couple here, is having a conflict. Wherever you have males and females, we now understand that females are using up to 10 times more white matter activity to get at the very same thing that guys are using up to 7 times more gray matter activity. So of course, the conflict, the classroom, the teaching, the homework doing, all this stuff's going to feel somewhat different and be somewhat different for males and females. Because, because females are using more white matter, guys are using more gray matter. And that's one of the reasons when we talk about suicide prevention, when we talk about social emotional, everything in that area, systems that are looking at what do we do in the realm of the social emotional, this is a huge part of it. And it's one of the reasons wherever we go and we work in these areas, we make sure everyone gets trained. Social workers, remember, those of us who are therapists, we didn't learn this in grad school either. So very little of this is taught. Grad school for us in the mental health profession, for educators, and certainly not for parents either. So it's big to get this into everybody. And when we look at why do guys commit, actually execute suicide more than females, we're looking at things like this. We're looking at how they will get it into that one part of the brain, and that's where they'll get it, and they'll act, and et cetera.